What we finally did was we just wrote down a list, and we're like, okay, tuition, summer camp, back to school, tutoring. Like, we had a list. Now, let me tell you now, it's difficult to look at the full list. All right. When you look at that full list, you're going to be like, man, this kid is expensive. Yeah. But I need you to put the list together. We got our grand total. We opened up a separate bank account. And every time we got paid, we were funding this account. So that way, when it was the monthly payments would just come out of that account, or when it was time to pay whatever, everything came out of this segregated account. All right, parents, y'all know it is back to school time, and I have a question for you. Are you excited? Are you prepared? Are you nervous? Are you stressed? Because guess what? On this episode of the Thank Me Later show with me, your host, Jiniah Thornton, we are talking all things back to school for K through 12th grade. Well, listen, I am so excited that you're here today, and welcome. Welcome to another episode of the Thank Me Later show with me, your host, Jiniah Thornton, where we help you master your money and transform your life. And what we're going to focus on today, what we're going to transform for you today is all things back to school. So this is not for your college kids. Think, kindergarten through 12th grade. But I'm here to give you some financial tips, of course. Want to make sure you have some financial tips, but also some life tips, a few life hacks to help you get through it. I have some help with me today. I have a special guest with me today.
Very special. The most special.
Oh, the most special of all. She likes to call herself 2.0, which is taking her, she's getting a little carried away there. But of course, I'm Jiniah Thornton. This is Jiniah Bliss.
Hello.
Who are you named after?
I don't know. Apparently, someone in my family, maybe an aunt or something.
So, y'all, this is my niece, and we have the honor and privilege to work together. But what's interesting about our lives, you moved to Atlanta, I think, when you were 5. Mm-hmm. Yep. And because of, your dad was this single dad, which means that you kind of ended up in my mix quite a bit.
Quite a lot.
Yeah, quite a lot, kind of helping to support your dad. But you're here today because you're a mom too, getting ready for back to school.
I am a mom.
Yeah, and you're a mommy. Christian is
7 years old.
Going into the
2nd grade.
Oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
What a big
And
deal.
you are her godmother.
I'm her godmother. Yep. And she's going to a new school that my kids went to. So we got a whole family thing going on here today. So, but Jiniah, before we start, I just kind of want to lay the foundation of like what it costs for back to school. Like what do these numbers really mean to people? Then I want to kind of talk about some tips, some lifestyle tips. Then of course we're going to give people some financial advice. Okay. So let's just kind of lay it out for folks. In 2023, American families spent approximately $41.5 billion on K through 12 back to school shopping. Okay, that's just back to school shopping. For the same period, U.S. families on children's sports activities spent an estimated $30 to $40 billion on just sports and after school stuff activities. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's expensive though. Yeah, I'm happy I don't have to pay for this anymore.
Not me.
Don't be jealous. Don't be jealous. So I just want to give people an idea of average costs. So normally on extracurricular activities, people spend almost about $700 a year per child. That seems about right. Actually, that even feels a little low to me. Yeah, it feels a little low. Gymnastics is one of the most expensive, about $1,500 a year. Basketball, $427. Baseball, $660. Honey, these kids are wonderful and beautiful, but they are not cheap.
They're not. And don't let them be doing more than one activity, like my child.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
So give me an idea. So Christian is
She's in gymnastics.
Tennis.
She just started tennis. Mm-hmm. She was doing soccer and track.
Okay, that's too much. And Girl Scout. So, do you know about how much like Girl Scout costs, or what you're paying for gymnastics? Like off the top of your head, like what is it costing now?
It's all monthly payments, so I try not to.
I try to add it up, right?
I try not to, because then when you do that, it gets a little discouraging.
Right. Absolutely. But it is a lot. And what I often tell parents, because obviously my children are grown. My kids are 30 and 34 now. And when I talk to parents and they have all this stuff going on, and I'm like, it's too much. It doesn't have to be that much.
That's true.
Yeah, we can kind of simplify things. No wonder you're stressed out because you're ripping and running and you're spending all this money. It's a lot.
My daughter's calendar is busier than mine.
Okay. That's too much. Yeah, that's a bit too much. And this overscheduling has kind of become a real thing now. But yeah, we'll talk about that. So I want to talk about the routine. Because I want to know, because, parents are like, some parents are happy, like, thank you, Lord, they're going back to school. Yes. And other people are like, oh, I love this summer break. So which one are you?
I definitely love the summer.
Yeah, me too.
My schedule is so strict when she's in school because then I have to make sure like our schedules are aligned.
Right.
So my workout schedule, her sleep schedule, her dinner schedule. So I feel like in the summer I can be a lot more lax.
Right.
So I'm already like mentally preparing like, oh yeah, we're about to have to lock back in.
Right.
Yeah.
And what does lock back in look like? What do you like getting back to this routine, going to bed, eating dinner, getting clothes ready? Like, what does that look like for you?
Definitely just her being more consistent with her schedule, making sure her bedtime is a lot more strict, getting the room together. We can let the room stay dirty for a few days in the summertime and let laundry pile up, but definitely in the school time, making sure all of her clothes are ready.
Right.
Bath times, just being strict with everything. But I even noticed that during the summertime, I get more lax with like my personal schedule with like my workouts. And like, typically during the year, I do like 4:35 a.m. workouts because that's the only time I have. But now in the summertime, I can do my evening workouts, and because I'm not so strict with her going to bed at a certain time. So
right. One thing, you can attest to this because we've been around each other quite a bit since you were 5. I raised you and my kids the way that my mother raised me, and my mother... Shut up, girl. My mother ran a house with military precision, but I think it was because she was a single parent. And, my mother adopted 2 kids, never married. So she needed to know everything was working a particular way. So, and she was adamant about certain things. And that's how I really raised y'all. So like, you didn't get your clothes ready each day. You got your clothes ready for the week. My mother didn't play that.
Ready as in ironed, laid out.
Like laid out, ready to go. Like everything is laid out, ready to go.
And I wore a uniform. I just want to say that out loud. I wore a uniform and still had to pick it out.
Everything still had to be ready to go. It wasn't called meal prep back then, but that's what my mom was doing, like cooking in advance, because she was trying to maximize every single moment. And I think David and I got in a rhythm about that very quickly. He was easy to adjust to. I think it wasn't like I was one way, he was the other way. Like we were running the ship the same way. I don't know if we overdid it because now you're not doing it anymore. The kids aren't doing it anymore. I'm like, what happened?
I have an appreciation for it though.
Oh,
now that I'm an adult.
Okay.
I had to take a few years off and just
do
my own thing. And now I'm like, okay, I appreciate it. I understand it, especially being a parent now.
Yeah.
That's kind of the only way to like survive and like.
It's the only way to survive. People think it's doing too much, but with that level of discipline is where you get the freedom from.
Yeah.
And people don't understand that. One thing that I learned, which is an important trick, is calendars are everything. As soon as I got my kids' calendar, I would put it in my calendar because to me, those are my big rocks.
Yeah.
And then everything else had to revolve around my kids' schedule. So parent-teacher conference, vacation, practice, all the things. I put that in my schedule, and then I built my schedule around their schedule. And that helped me a lot. And I think it allowed me to be very present, and engaged and involved in all the things. How do you handle calendaring? Because it's a real thing.
It is. I've learned in the recent couple years, I have to live by my calendar now. But even as we're getting ready to gear up for school, with her school, we have to sign up for like the extracurriculars that she does after school in advance.
Right.
So they open it up in the summertime, and people have already been telling me like it gets booked up, so you better sign them up ASAP. So I've already been having to think through like what days of the week is she going to do activities, and like what does that look like with my schedule, and just making sure all of that works. But I'm having to think about it months in advance.
You have to make those commitments like right away for sure. One thing too that I was just thinking about, I was having a flashback looking at one of these questions. I was like, how could my mother run a household and she was not home? And what I realized is like when you entered the door of my house, you knew exactly what was expected of you because it was literally posted. Literally, it was in writing. So you knew what to do. So it wasn't like, okay, Jiniah, it's time to do this. You need to do this. You need to do this. It created the independence. So I think it's really important that even if your life isn't set up that way, that you teach Christian to be independent that way so you don't have to micromanage. So she has to get her homework done or get her clothes ready. She can have this cute little list of what to do, you know?
That's good.
So she can kind of micromanage. So you can pay me for that tip later.
It's funny because she's actually been in the habit lately within the past couple of weeks of saying like, is there anything you need me to do when we get home? Because I think she knows that I've just been like, you don't need to be relaxing until, you know, certain things are done.
Absolutely.
So she's been in the habit of like asking me that, I think, because she already knows like, let me not get too comfortable when I get to the house.
Right.
Yeah.
Because there's things to do for sure. Another thing too that I appreciate about David is we both came from households where we were expected to be independent very early. So I think our kids were ironing by the time they were like 6, you know, because we needed them to be independent, you know, folding their laundry, putting it away, ironing their clothes, cleaning up. Like I see too many parents doing way too much work. Like, no wonder you're exhausted. Yeah. Meanwhile, your kid is over here chilling and there's nothing wrong with them.
Yeah.
So I think it's really important. They need to learn how to contribute to the household, but also get into the routine. So again, it's not to overwork them, but we need to be spreading, you know, this work around.
The responsibility.
So let me just say this to you. So we were on one of our Black Women Will calls, and I'm not going to say anybody's name out loud. Okay. And one of our amazing volunteers, she was literally folding clothes and putting them away. And I said to her, how old are your kids? And they're like 12 and, you know, 13 or something like that. And I'm like, you're doing their laundry?
I don't even do Christian's laundry.
I'm like, why are you doing their laundry? Oh, I love it. No, ma'am. You're going to have to learn how to show love a different way because you're taking away their opportunity to be independent. So she has this big, crazy job. I almost was going to say what she does because then you would have known exactly who I was talking about. I'm like, how do you have the time to do your kids' laundry? You don't have the time. And of course, it was like a mountain because she was all backed up. Meanwhile, kids are playing, chilling. Life is all good.
Right.
Yeah, so that's a little crazy. Any other quick tips on transitioning? Share one thing that you don't change Christian's schedule during the summer too much, her bedtime.
Yeah, her bedtime pretty much stays the same. I maybe add like a 30-minute, maybe an hour extra.
Right.
But I got really strict with her bedtime when she was young because I started doing some research on like the importance of sleep for children.
Right.
And how it even alters like their personality, their brain chemistry, all those things. And so once I got really strict with that, I noticed a difference with her behavior and even her personality. So yeah, I don't play about her bedtime, and it helped. That's my free time.
Right.
Like once she shuts down around 7:30, I'm like, okay, I'm good.
I know parents are like 7:30. Yeah. What? Yes, 7:30. Whatever it needs to be in your household.
Yeah.
Yep. Take all that stuff away from them. You know, all that stuff that they can look at, read, have them check that in your room. And then let them go to their space so they can begin to kind of unwind some. I love that you do that. Yeah. All right. I'm going to go to a quick hotline question, a Thank Me Later hotline question.
Okay.
So this is Monique, who's reaching out to us from Kansas. Girl, who knew that you could even hear us in Kansas? I love that. She says, I'm a mom of 3, and the thought of school coming up is stressing me out.
Like all of us.
Like everybody. All of the things that you want to be involved in scheduling. How do I figure out a balance and what to prioritize? I have 2 in middle school and 1 in high school. How do you determine what gets prioritized?
I've started to realize, and that was a great question, Monique. Thank you. I've started to realize that things aren't as big of a deal as we make them as parents.
Right.
And I've even had to kind of tell some of my mom friends that, like, we stress out and they need this and they need that and they have to be doing all the things.
And relax about that.
And you realize you don't. You don't have to have them involved in a million things and they'll be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was going to be my advice too. And that was the advice that I gave to you when we were talking about Christian going to this new school. Do not sign her up for anything that does not happen at school.
Yeah.
For 2 months. Give yourself that time. So, Monique, don't overcommit.
Yeah.
Please don't overcommit. You don't have to do all the things. Right now, we just need to get them in school and the routine. We can start 1 or 2 things. They don't need to have 12 things, 1 or 2 things that they can be engaged in that you can manage easily. To me, that's really important.
Yeah, and try to keep your kids involved in places that are all near each other.
Yes.
If not the same place.
Absolutely. Because otherwise it's just not gonna work. All right, let's give people a couple of resources and help before we start talking about money. Got to talk about money. That's what we do at Thank Me Later. So some resources. Of course, you want to tap into the Thank Me Later community. We have a ton of stuff related to managing your money, budgeting, kids, school, all the things. You want to do that. There are some cashback or some websites that you can use. I know you have like Retail Me Not here, Ibotta's here, Honey's here. Great resources that you can use to kind of help you save a few dollars. It all matters. Use some of those resources, okay? So let's talk about some back to school money saving tips.
Yay!
Yay, yay, yay. Just a couple things that David and I did that helped us a lot. Number one, if your child does not take the bus to school, carpooling is everything. Okay. Please find another family that lives in your neighborhood or in your area that y'all can kind of figure something out. Because not only will it help you save time, it can help you save money.
Yeah.
With the gas is not cheap. So carpooling is huge. Because your kids are in 14 things, they're not a professional athlete, so they're experimenting. If you have to buy equipment, if you have to buy instruments and all that, be okay with getting used equipment.
Yeah.
Very possible to do that. You can save like 30 to 50% by buying used equipment. Okay, so please do that. I remember, what did Cameron have, David? A used trumpet or saxophone or something.
And I had the flute.
I don't remember you playing the flute.
I played the flute.
I don't remember that, girl.
Middle and a little
I believe
high school.
you. I believe you. I believe you. Another tip that I'd like to share, which to me is the biggest game changer for David and I as parents, is how it's like, okay, God, now I got to pay for this. I'm like, okay, now this is coming up. Now I got to pay for this. What we finally did was we just wrote down a list. And we're like, okay, tuition, summer camp, back to school, tutoring. Like we had a list. Now, let me tell you now, it's difficult to look at the full list. All right. When you look at that full list, you're going to be like, man, this kid is expensive.
Yeah.
But I need you to put the list together. We got our grand total. We opened up a separate bank account. And every time we got paid, we were funding this account. So that way, when it was the monthly payments would just come out of that account, or when it was time to pay whatever, everything came out of this segregated account. So do you think something like that could be helpful for you?
I definitely do. Yeah, I think it would be helpful. And it makes you more intentional about some of those decisions you're making too.
Because now you're like, am I really about to spend this much money on this kid?
Maybe she doesn't need gymnastics and tennis and soccer.
And maybe she does not need all three. And that money, seeing the visibility will change your life, parents. Okay? So I want you to see that complete total list. And then before you buy new stuff, I need you to just take some inventory. It's so easy to be like, ooh, particularly now we don't even have to go to the store. Amazon becomes your new BFF. Target or wherever you're ordering online. Can you take some time and do some inventory around your own home first?
Yes.
Because it's just our natural tendency to just like new stuff. We don't have to do that.
Yeah. I know Christian still has some school supplies in her closet.
Right.
Yeah.
I think we need to pull those out.
Yeah.
Yeah, before we start buying anything else. Any other financial tips that you can think of for parents?
Not a really specific one. I would just say give yourself grace during this period. I think that's kind of my theme when parenting is just making sure I'm giving myself grace and, like you said, just allowing time for that transition. That's what I would say.
It's super huge. You definitely need some grace, and you need to be very kind to yourself. Maybe like that first month of school.
Yeah.
Because it's the thing. It's a thing to get back into that routine. Couple more financial tips that I wanted to share before we wrap up today. You want to make sure that any opportunity that you have to use a student discount, use any discount codes, paying attention to who has what on sale, please do that. You want to be intentional about when you're buying the thing so you can pay as little as possible for said thing. Because back to school, holiday time, if they don't need certain things now, you may want to wait until Black Friday or whatever else, just to kind of stretch those dollars out a little bit more. Okay? So anything else before we wrap?
I don't have anything.
Okay.
Go kick booty, moms.
Yeah. Please kick booty, moms. But also, I want you to open up that separate bank account.
Definitely.
Yeah, I need you to open that, write everything down because that will help you say yes or no, and then begin to intentionally fund that account. Your money needs a job, and that's that account's job to take care of all things related to said kid.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's get that done. All right.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Well, I hope this was helpful, parents. I know back to school. I hope you're happy, not as stressed. I hope you're not too stressed here. So as we close, I'm going to tell you my Thank Me Later financial tip. I wish that I would have started, when dealing with my kids is we didn't start that new account thing until like middle school.
Okay.
Middle high school. I wish I would have done it earlier. Okay. So
I'll do it earlier.
You're going to do it earlier. You're going to represent for the fam.
Yes.
You're going to represent for the fam. Go ahead and create that budget, y'all, and look for some money-saving options. Don't forget about the Thank Me Later community. You can go to the Thank Me Later community at thankmelater.money and then continue to engage with us at the Thank Me Later show, of course. And please follow us. You can follow me at Jiniah Thornton. You can follow at TML Money. And thank you for engaging with us, all right? Have an amazing, amazing day. And thank you for listening to the Thank Me Later show with me, your host, Jiniah Thornton.